we're in.
Perfect.
So, Nancy, you want to bring us up?
You're up, Commissioner.
Okay. We're now in session. With us, we have the Fair Board, and here comes another straggler. All right. And this is the high-level budget discussion, and so Commissioner Crowder is asked to take the lead on this one, so we'll let Commissioner Crowder start us off. Hey, Piney. Come on up. Actually, before we do that, let's have you guys introduce yourselves, just for the record.
Cody Miller, Fair Board.
Alex Hauser, groundskeeper.
Fairgrounds maintenance.
Fairgrounds maintenance.
Jamie Pearson, Fair Board Coordinator.
Sheldon Warfus, Fair Board.
Steve Haddon, Fair Board.
Piney?
Piney Morrison, Superintendent of the Fair.
Okay,
Commissioner.
thank you. Commissioner Crowder.
All right, thanks. So I'm going to start off by going through some stuff that we tell every single group that comes in front of us, every department, every board. And this is stuff that in general the commission wants to see happen as far as budgets this year. Some of it's applicable, some of it won't be applicable, so you take what's appropriate, okay? And so that includes the first thing, and probably the most important thing, is we want to keep the spending overall flat this year. So in other words, we don't want any increase in spending in your overall budget. And we do recognize that there are going to be areas where you're going to look at and you say, we really have a need here, we need to increase spending in this area. So we want you to look at other areas where maybe you can reduce the spending in order to move the money around and that type of thing, which is fine. But just keep the overall budget the same. And then the second thing is we want everybody to be looking at getting grants. You guys are unique in that you have the opportunity to generate revenue. So to the extent that you can generate revenue, obviously you could use that money to take care of costs that come up and so on. We've talked to some of the groups about training. I don't know that there's a lot of training that goes on down there, but in case there is some training, what we have seen is that some of our departments, like the Sheriff's Department in particular, is able to get their people in-house to a level where they can conduct training of their own people. So you're not hiring these outside trainers, things of that nature. Okay, so that's the basic things. Then as far as the fair board in general, down there in Downey, I feel like we have a unique opportunity with the facility, and I think it's underutilized. And so I would particularly like to see the facility utilized a lot more. If possible, I'd like to see it utilized year-round. So not just for the fair, but put on other events and do other things down there. And I realize that's going to take, some things would have to change in order to accomplish that. So what we would like to see is the development of a plan for the next 5 years, let's say. How would you develop the fair grounds to be able to utilize it much more for the residents in South County? And I think that would entail, personally, instead of a temporary workers, a full-time worker there, taking care of the facility, getting the contracts, and all the things that you currently do. By the way, when we're talking about developing a 5-year plan, that means looking at the structures down there and ensuring the structures are what you need. Now, I think there's a lot of structures that need to be changed. Probably some need to be torn down, some could be renovated, and so on. So that would be part of the plan, is over the 5 years, how would you fix the structures so that you're able to more fully utilize the facility. With that, what we want to do is I want to have our facilities guy and myself come down there and take a look at all the structures that you have on the fairgrounds with you guys and kind of work out, well, what do we need to do? What is the best plan that would work to get this thing up to where it could really be useful for you guys, okay? The idea here is that, well, you guys know that the employees down there are Bannock County employees. And so that would continue in our minds, that would continue to be the case. And let's say that, for example, you became full-time down there and you were working on this, getting contracts, bringing in acts, renting out facilities, doing stuff all year round, then you would report to the commissioners, just like other entities do currently, some other groups do. When you're developing the plan, we're gonna need job descriptions of people that are working down there, whether they're full-time or part-time, what are their jobs, so that we can kind of take a look at that and understand what our personnel structure is, and so on. And then beyond that, we did have, should we go into these questions or let them go ahead and do their presentation? The other questions we had developed about the pole barn, what do you think?
How much are you guys prepared to talk about budget today? Just, we were looking for an overall high-level discussion about the budget. Have you guys?
Yeah, and we realize, this is the first time we're telling you we want to look at something different with this facility and something a lot more substantive than what you're doing, so we wouldn't expect you today to have a lot of discussion about that, because obviously we're asking you to go make a plan and then come back to discuss that. But do you have any discussion?
So we haven't had any discussions about the budget yet, but I talked to Christy yesterday and asked for our budget sheets early, because we have a Fair Board meeting next Wednesday
Okay.
to go over what they want to see happen next year down there.
All right, well, then let's finish this, and then we can kind of have more of a back and forth, which will help you prepare for your budget sheets when you get those. How's that?
Okay, so you want to jump into the
Yeah.
pole barn thing?
Yep, go
Okay.
ahead.
So we did have some questions about this pole barn, and we sent the questions. I think you answered them, is that right? Okay. And so we were talking about the pole barn replacing the building that was propped up and reinforced with 2x4s last year. And you said that was the building that we're looking at demolishing and replacing, right?
Correct.
And that wasn't, we looked at in an earlier meeting, we had looked at an image of the facility, and it wasn't clear to us that was we were on the same page with which structure are we actually talking about. And this is one of the reasons that I would come down there and take a look with Dan, and you show us the building, and make sure we're all on the same page, and that type of thing, and we're just not confused about what building we're talking about. And then another question was that the pole barn, would it be used during the weeks surrounding the fair? Are there other uses for the building? And you'd said that you hope to utilize the building year-round, which of course I want to use the whole facility year-round. And so that led me to think, well, is a pole barn really the right way to go? Because those have a limited lifespan. Would it be better to pour a concrete slab and put up a metal building, for example? I don't know, but this is one of the things I wanted you guys' thoughts on.
Isn't it a metal?
It is metal, yeah.
It's going to be metal. That's what,
It's a metal building.
it just doesn't have a concrete.
But it doesn't have a concrete, I guess the difference is it doesn't have a concrete slab.
You
Would it be
don't
better,
want animals on concrete.
you don't want them, you want them on dirt?
Yeah.
And so that's the reason you had the pole barn. If I understand the pole barn right, the poles are actually sunk into the dirt, is that right?
There'll be a foundation or footing.
There'll be footings.
There'll be footings.
So it wouldn't
Reach
have,
poles.
you wouldn't really have poles going into the dirt to
No,
rot?
no, we won't do
Okay.
that.
I think that's
It'll
probably
be
the
on a metal
point.
bracket.
Gotcha. Okay, I think that's probably the point of confusion. Do you have any questions on that?
No, I'm good.
That's what the existing one is now. It's been there since like 1940, so
Right.
it's done.
That's why it's in
It's
5-gallon
done its
buckets.
job.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna do it right, you might as well,
Well, and
So the
it was built
existing
by
one had-
donated labor.
yeah.
The existing one has the poles stuck into the ground, is that right?
Well, they're
They're
just
on,
in
in cement.
little
They're-
cement round, they're not,
Bucket.
It's in-
Okay.
It's in a
Oh,
5-gallon bucket.
yes.
yeah.
Okay,
And then they
okay,
catch the water and it drops the post out right there.
Yeah.
okay, I remember seeing that now.
But it'd be similar to the free stage pavilion, where
It's
it's got,
just a metal building on.
Right.
Well,
It's
I-
a metal building on concrete. It's not a slab, but it is concrete
Gotcha.
that it sits on.
We just want to make sure that the lifespan's going to be good, that we're not doing something that 20 years it's gone and we got to do it again.
Well-
That it's really going to hopefully last a long
Yeah.
time.
The lifespan, you can see in my notes there that I'm not qualified to say how long it's gonna last.
Right.
But I saw your guess.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah. All right, let me just check here real quick, my notes. Okay, that really is, that's the whole thing. That's all my notes on what I wanted to see. And so, did you have anything you want to add before we open discussion?
No, I'm just kind of curious, how viable is it, do you think, to be able to provide year-round stuff down there to create a cash flow to pay for going full-time and more
The biggest
maintenance?
challenge we have right now about year-round is that we don't have anything that's heated or anything that's
That people can really use other than the arenas during the winter.
during the winter, and there, yeah, we have the indoor arena, which.
That's part of our 5-year plan, is to get a heated building that can be used for weddings, receptions. We could charge them for it, but we still need a facility we can use. Even, we don't even have a place to meet. We meet in the shop now.
Right.
Hey, I have a question on that. I've always wondered this. Does the county allow you to say, build a building like that and let us pay payments each year? Like, why couldn't we just build the building and pay $15,000 a year on it?
You mean take out a mortgage?
Yeah.
That would be a bigger discussion.
Is that a no-no, or is that, I just have
I
always
wouldn't
wondered
say it's a
that.
no-no, but I don't have a good answer for you
Okay.
beyond that. So I'll find out and
Okay.
let you know.
I've just always wondered, because you could set aside, or you could, like, earn so much each year and put towards that, or,
Well, and that's part of my question, is do you think you can earn enough each year to support something like that in addition to the salaries and what it would take to keep that going?
I feel like if we had a mortgage, we'd have to.
Well,
I think.
Some people have
Just saying.
mortgages and lose their homes, so.
it's not a chicken and egg discussion, Piney.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only that, I think even Daniel went down, some of those exhibit buildings,
Need to be
they're
gone.
crumbling.
Right.
And it's starting to become a safety.
Yep.
Where the building collapsed between the two buildings, there's like
It's-
that broken up cement that people trip on, and
It's an
It's an
eyesore.
Yeah.
and it really, I mean, it is a safety thing, when you- especially, that report that I talked about at the last fair board meeting, we had over 31,000 people at our fair last year. I mean, that's a lot of people to worry about tripping over, cement or have a crumbling building.
Right.
I think I got a question, maybe. So you're talking about a 5-year plan and looking at buildings that need to be fixed or tore down or whatever. But then you're holding the budget the same this year. Where does the funding come in the 5-year plan to move forward with that
Well, the
stuff?
budget this year includes the money for the pole barn,
Right.
for example.
But,
Right.
So in my mind, that would be, whatever we've put in the budget last year, I'm talking about maintaining that level. So you already have money that's being
For
allocated
a
toward
building.
improving that and to,
That's where my question about, can you cash flow it enough to support this? And then again, once we look at the 5-year plan, like Commissioner Crowder says, okay, if we need to invest some more money or something to help along the way, then that's what we want to look at. But I'm concerned that it won't cash flow to support you guys and the additional investment. But we haven't had that conversation, so that's where we're at, and we've talked about it, and I'm willing to give it another year, see what we can do, and, learn some things, see what the possibilities are before we go too much further forward, but that's kind of
I think our revenue went up this past year than over the previous year. I mean, I think it is increasing.
Right.
I think we're getting more exposure, and I think we're getting, a few more events. We have a few people that have approached us and talked to us about some different events.
Just
But you have
during,
to-
during Fair Week or throughout the year?
Throughout the year. So, but you have to have somebody have time to do that,
Right.
to make it happen.
And again, that's just kind of my general question. So as you start looking at that 5-year plan, include some sales revenue, and they're like, okay, if we can add 3 weddings a year at this price, it'll produce this amount of revenue, and we can do these type of events, it'll produce this amount of revenue. So then we can look at it and say, okay, if we're gonna invest more in some barns or, a $15,000 a year payment on a mortgage, Is there cash flow to support that?
To help with that, yeah.
But there already is an investment, which I would expect we would continue to keep the current level of investment.
Right.
Well, I think we could do a lot year-round because we got Alex there. He's real handy and knowledgeable and takes good care of things. And we got people there that are being paid. Why can't we book some events during the summer and to help offset things?
Well, that'll be part of the discussion when you come back is, all right, give us a 5-year plan. What are your steps in year 1, 3, and 5? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, and that should include what you think is going to generate revenue, whether you have different events, where you get sponsors, you can get grants, by the way. If you guys aren't, have you gotten any grants in the past for the fair?
I tried to start doing grants one time, and I was told that they all had to go through the commission office, so I
Well-
quit trying to do them.
Okay, that doesn't mean not to do them. So let's have a discussion later about that.
There's some grants that are available to us as a small fairgrounds.
So we should have another discussion about that because I've been looking at all the grant opportunities here, so we can do that.
Okay, perfect. I'll work with you on that.
All right.
So question,
Yes, ma'am.
if it's outside of Fair Week, where does the budget come from? Like if we were to have events, we've always been told that our budget is for Fair Week.
That's part of the whole restructuring that
Okay.
we're talking
So
about.
you just say, this is our plan, this is what it would cost, and this is, I don't know.
You'd kind of potentially have, well, you do have 2 separate budgets right now. You've got
We got
the
a spring
fair
and a fall.
budget, and then you've got the facilities budget.
And they did give us a $5,000 budget for a fall event and a spring event this year. So we did do the fall event again, which grew from last year. And then we're in the works of doing the spring event this year.
So that's why we're having this discussion now, Piney, is so that we can set things in place
Okay.
for the fiscal year. Depending on which direction we decide to go, we can make those appropriate arrangements, whatever they may be.
And those dollars came out of our trust account. So it was
Well,
revenue that we had
And I'd
brought
say
in.
right now, everything's pretty much on the table. Let's have the discussion. Let's figure out how we would use the funds, what we would do, and move forward. But so we have to have some kind of plan and look at it, and if there's a problem, we'll figure that out as it goes. But right now, consider everything on the table.
Is there kind of a way to have like a revolving account that's for everything outside of Fair Week? What you take in, you can put
Sorta.
something on it.
That's the way our trust accounts work, but you have to still put in a request for utilization of them.
Essentially what you have to do is budget for everything. So you say,
With your both ends, this is what's going out and this is what's coming in. And
So we're
Yeah.
gonna have our accounting people also involved in this, because I'm not an accountant. I don't know the answers to some of these questions. You probably don't either, but our accounting person probably does. So as we're getting together, we're not just telling you, you go make a plan and come back to us, and then we say, well, you didn't do this right or that right. No. We're gonna provide you with resources to help develop this plan, and that'll include our accounting people will work with you to ensure that we're doing things right. Our attorney will work to make sure things are done right. And we want our facilities guy involved so that we have assets that we can use to help you develop the plan.
so essentially, Sheldon, what he's telling you is, you've been wanting a chance to run it. Here it is.
Well,
I got you. Get your back, Jack.
well, are we discussing what we want to do for this next year?
No, I mean, we can just do it at a high level,
Yeah.
because we're not making any
Well,
decisions
the first thing
today.
I need is, we need Jamie full-time.
Right.
It just hurts us too much to have her gone for the 2 months she's gone, and we have it in the budget. We can put her full-time. She'll still remain a county employee. But that's what we want to do first.
Right.
Well, I would say as soon as possible, put together that proposal and bring it back to us, and we'll take it up.
Okay?
So that we can make, and that doesn't, you don't have to have as much of the plan as you can have developed, but that would be the first part of the plan. And in my mind, that is clearly a need. If you have people taken off a month at a time over the course of the year, that's gonna be difficult I think, if not impossible, to accomplish what I'm asking you guys to do. So I would like to see that early on in this process. You guys come back, lay out exactly the duties involved and so on, and the costs, and you can work with our people to do that. And let's have the discussion, and I would definitely like to see that go forward.
What else do you think you need this year, Sheldon?
Pardon me?
What else do you think you need this year?
Well, we're still getting the bleachers put up. That's pretty well with last year's budget. We don't need,
I did get a text back from them last night.
did you? What did that text say?
It says,
Too much snow.
well, they ran into too much snow, so,
Been a bad year for
I
getting
said-
anything done.
Yeah.
I know the bleacher cover hasn't been worked on yet, too much snow. Do we have a new approximate date for you to start, finish with it? And she said, hope, and it was her, it wasn't Jake, hoping to get started in the next couple of weeks, weather permitting, should be done by middle to end of May.
So July 1st.
4th of July.
So, that's where we're at with that.
Okay, what would you like to see, Steve?
Well, we talked about the pole barn. In my opinion, if we're gonna get a 5-year plan, it needs to include that pole barn. That pole barn needs to include a bigger barn, so we can petition it off to have weddings or receptions or family reunions in the in part of the barn that's got a concrete floor on it. The pole barn we talked about today should have a dirt floor on it. We need a bigger barn to attach to this pole barn. A bigger barn, and a 5-year plan that has concrete floor in it.
A glorified hay shed.
What's that?
A glorified hay shed.
Well, there's a lot of things that we can start with this new pole barn. I mean, we could do some stock dog training, we could do, there's got to be some kind of work with 4-H. We have an educational horse thing coming up this year for the first time. But I don't know, I mean, if we worked with 4-H to get more kids involved, why couldn't we, how to raise chickens, how to raise pigs, you know, some things like that. And this barn will be able to use that
Yeah.
for that.
That stuff don't really create revenue.
It doesn't create a lot of revenue, but it does.
It is.
It does
Something
increase,
for the
Exposure to the
community.
facility.
it increases utilization, which gets more kids involved, which gets more parents involved, and maybe more sponsors. I mean, I think it's a trickle effect if you can get, you just have to start using it.
And our 4-H numbers are way up this year still.
Yeah, I've already heard your steers for the registration for the fair have already higher than what they were last year.
Yeah.
And that was in the 30s.
Yeah.
We were
We
down
had
to 9.
311 animals last year, and I think we'll probably be close to 400 this year.
Over 400, I think. Well, 400 or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going
Yeah,
with not enough places to put them.
yeah.
Well, I think as in answer to your question, I mean, you all need to get together as a board and everybody that's a stakeholder in this thing and have this discussion as to what order you should do things and what's the first importance, what's the next importance, and so on. That's part of the plan. Come up with all this, and then you'll come and tell us this is what we want to do. And like I said, I'm gonna come down there as soon as we can make an appointment with you guys to take a look at the whole facility myself with my facilities guy. We'll set up when you guys are ready to start getting into numbers and things. We'll get an appointment with our accounting people so that everybody can be on the same page and understand what those issues are. If you need access to our attorney to deal with some issues, or will just let us know. And whatever else we could do to help you guys develop this, let us know.
If the first building we're gonna build is this pole barn, as we talked about, can that be included on the outside of the bigger barn we're gonna build?
I'm sorry, run that by me again?
Can that be included in the bigger barn we're gonna build? You got a little barn over here, but you got a bigger barn on the on the inside.
Okay, so one of the questions that's gonna come up is with respect to fire suppression. We just had this question come up at the event center up here. So, you know, you guys are gonna have to look at these types of issues. Do you have to have a sprinkler system in the thing if you hit a certain capacity? So I don't know the answer to that. We're basically telling you guys, you give us your plan. find the answers to these questions, give us your plan, and we'll, we'll help you. We'll work with you to develop, so it's not just make the plan and good luck.
On that issue, we need to go outside to find a contractor who can give us more ideas than we've got. That's what we need in there for state code.
Well, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that would be happy to give you advice, and you can find resources on the internet and in other facilities that have done similar things. So I think that would be a logical and normal step, would be to look at outside resources and, as you're developing the plan.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'd like to replace those 3 exhibit buildings over there with one nice one.
The field's wide open.
Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, we need to,
It's an eyesore, we gotta fix that one building, we gotta do something there.
So that's what I'm telling you, here's your chance, Sheldon. You've been asking for this for a couple of
I
years.
know.
So, and I'm gonna be a little bit harder on you than Commissioner Crowder is. I wanna see a fairly detailed plan of what you're thinking, you know, the events and what you think you can do revenue-wise and all of that. But, you know, I love South County, you know, went to school with some of you and all that good stuff, so I'm all for it, but you gotta show me something. So here's your chance.
Well, we're gonna try to show you something, but this is all new to us because but we'll go out there and the board will come up with something, with a plan.
There you go. We like to say, come back with a 95% baked plan, and we'll kick it around and see what we can do.
Keep in mind, Pocatello can't go no more north or no more west. They're all gonna come this way. Eventually, we hope not. We just, keep putting a barrier up of some sort.
Well, we were down in Ermo the other day, and they were complaining because they said Bannock County stops at the Gap.
Well, I guess until you talk to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most people think from Ingham on, it gets nothing, but
Oh,
that's what I always hear. I'm like, oh, it'll all grow,
yeah,
whether we want it to or not.
yeah. So, again, here's your shot.
Okay. Okay. We can use legal counsel and advice and,
Yep.
You
County.
just, if you need anything, contact me, and I will make sure that whatever resources you need to help with this, we'll get them for you.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Okay,
Anybody got
thanks.
Any questions?
Anyone else?